welcome back. Again, my name is Ashley Evans, and this is my pregnancy story in Japan. I want to keep this, I want to keep all my videos short. I know that video for month 3 was 40 minutes, and I'm like, I don't want to ever do that again. But I've noticed that, unfortunately, my second video has gotten a lot of traction, and so people want to watch the next video, so they watch that one, and they're like, I don't think I would watch anymore else, so I'm only seeing a lot of numbers for month 2 and month 3. And I'm like, if only. So I'm trying to keep everything nice and short for you guys. Let's get back into it. This is month 6. It has been very, very cold. I will go ahead and start with that. Let's go with some symptoms that I've had for this month. Specifically, heartburn. Heartburn was pretty much the worst thing that started happening. I've had heartburn all my life. And I think I mentioned it in another month that I had earlier, but it was getting to the point where it would burn. I had to go and find something that was, of course, safe for pregnancy, so I went to a pharmacist, specifically, because I had to ask, hey, is it actually okay to use this? And they came out with these, they taste like toothpaste, minty toothpaste. Not really the best tasting, but they were pretty effective. Immediate effect. Basically, you get one of the little packet, you take off the top, and you squirt it in your mouth. And you swallow it. They were kind of effective. They weren't as effective for as long as I needed them to, because like I said, the sensation of just throat burning, the acid literally eroding my throat. It's I can't do this anymore. So I did talk to the doctor. We've had 2 appointments this month. The first one, he did go ahead and prescribe me some Nexium, which is, I know it's an American one, or one that you can get in America, so I actually knew about this one. I also heard that America is having a recall of some specific heartburn medicine, but Nexium, and I think there's only really one type, and then they just pulled all of them, but it's not this one that was causing the recalls. Okay, so that's heartburn. Heartburn's taken care of. I've had injuries. Specifically related to my round ligament pain, which is the big tendons that hold my uterus in place. Just think of them like shocks. That is, if you know anything about cars or suspension, or even like a trampoline, right? You've got these little springs, and they move up and down, or they have a form of tension to them whenever you put pressure on them. So my uterus is bouncing around, the baby's moving around, I'm walking around, moving around, all this stuff. And you've got these 2 tendons or ligaments that are attached from your hips to your uterus. I think it's something like that. Basically, as my uterus gets bigger, the baby gets bigger, these tendons stretch, and they're really taut, and they're sore all the time. Get up, walk, sneeze. There's a second appointment of the month where I was looking to go to the city office, and I'm going to talk about this later. I was registering for a support service, and I went to go get lunch because I missed the bus because I was apparently in the wrong office, and I was like, okay, I gotta get my bus after I eat lunch, and I was barely on time, and the bus was here. So the bus has a route around this area that I'm walking to the bus, and I know this route, so I know that how far and how fast he's moving, and he's keeping up pace with me. And he goes all the way down this long driveway, because it goes to the big main city office, and then the bus stop is there, and then he has to drive all the way back. And I'm at the end of this street, trying to walk to the end of this big driveway to the bus stop. And I'm like, the next, like, it's 1:30 or something like that. Like, the next bus is at 3. Like, I don't want to get stuck here or have to take a train or go to a different bus because it's all dumb because I was not paying enough attention with the time. And so I was like, I'm not going to run. I can't run. I'm going to just briskly walk really hard, waving the bus driver, making sure that he will stay there. I've seen him wait at that spot before, so I know it wasn't as unusual to ask for that specific, like, can you wait for me a little bit? I'm coming. I can't come as fast as I would like to, you know, I know you got a bus full of people, but I'm coming as fast as I can. And like I said, it's the end of a day, so I was exhausted. And then I had to also walk home from whenever the bus dropped me off. And like, I think it was an injury from just exhaustion and walking for too fast. For like 3 to 4 days, I just couldn't really get up or like move around without just feeling pain. And it's not just the tendons underneath my belly, it's also my hips, the back of my hips, my thighs, my groin area. Like, it just all was so painful. The doctor had also given me some more headache medicine, which was supposed to help me with headaches that I was having too. So I was using that for the pain from the injury I had. This happened again, not as severe. I pretty much healed up, felt better, could move around a little bit better. And of course, like they said, you should walk. The doctor literally told me out of exercises I should do or can do, or should do, are things like walking, swimming, yoga, Pilates, stuff like that. And I just picked walking. The second time, I had to go to an emergency trip to the state capital for like visa stuff. Like I said, it was an emergency, like just things weren't lining up properly, so I had to go in person. I was mainly sitting down, taking the train. It wasn't a far walk to and from the office. I wasn't in the office for too long. And then just took the train back. But I think it was just the sense of exhaustion I already had. I took another bus, and this time I had to walk about, Google says 10 minutes, but whenever you're pregnant, it's like double that time. So pretty much like 15 to 20 minutes of me walking in this straight road, trying to like get home after I'm being exhausted. So I had a little bit more of that relapse of like that same pain and difficulty moving around afterwards. So I'm trying to be careful, but also trying to stay active. And it's like this balancing thing I have to do. It's difficult, I will say, because you know you think you have the capability to just like, I want to jump, or you know, I want to go run, or like I want to dance, or like, you know, things that you would normally do easily, but now with having a literal 1.5 pound sized baby inside of me that's like tethered by these like springs, and you really can't do any of this stuff right. And I don't recommend that you do. I say that you can do some of these things throughout your pregnancy, but that is if you're a really healthy person and that your doctor gives you an A-OK for it. Like I said, my doctor told me the 4 things I can do, and even walking is apparently too dangerous for me. I guess I'll go into difficulties, specifically with Omicron. So we're at the end of January, again, beginning of month 7th, and it's just like, it's, as I read an article, you know, it's not as deadly, but the fact that it's so infectious means that it touches more people, which means like you have a higher percentage of people getting it, even though it's a smaller percentage of like going to be hospitalized. So that number is still very big. And I know the Japanese government is trying to really keep an eye on like how many hospital beds they have. Their emergency level is based off of the capacity of the hospitals. And of course, technically being pregnant, I am high risk. I'm trying to get boosters. I'm not sure if I'm going to get one while I'm pregnant. We'll have to see. My city still hasn't like mailed out our certificates to preferred clinic or hospital. So we'll get that probably for a bit. And I'm not really anticipating that like I said, that I would get one, but it could help, keep us out of the hospital, specifically me and the baby. Of course, Omicron it's easily transmitted, and a lot of kids are getting it. So we're having a lot of school shutdowns right now. And of course, this also affects into my clinic as well. My clinic is doing no classes right now. I asked for my first appointment for the month. I was asking, like, hey, do you guys have any prenatal classes available? Specifically ones for, like, birthing and labor. Do you have any classes for, like, baby care? Like, how to swaddle. I still don't know how to swaddle a baby. And these are things I need to, be building as skills. And I've been reading a lot, trying to prepare myself of, like, what labor's like and, like, what to expect. Reading, watching videos, just trying to grab any type of information I can get while I can. And it's just like, they're like, yeah, we normally have them, but basically we just can't. So we are going to have you have a consultation with a midwife, after an appointment, like they did for my second appointment, for something different. I'll get there. So there's like no classes with like other mothers. Just basically you have a discussion or a consultation with the midwife. And then they just kind of go through some information with you that you might need. There's also, as my midwife had instructed us for my second appointment, we had a consultation with her. Not my favorite one, she wasn't on duty, but it was fine. Was that if we are in a state of emergency like we are now, or even a quasi state emergency, and that they're not going to allow any support persons to attend labor. So my interpreter, who I mentioned earlier, is like, I may or may not be there depending on, if it's convenient or not for me. So if she's not there, and, if Alex can't go, then that's that. I was thinking about maybe trying to do some phone interpretation with someone else, with like the male interpreter, and I wanted to recruit a third person, but I have to like reconnect with her, I guess. She wants to help, but like I don't know how much she wants to help. And right now I need a lot of help. We're gonna see. What she told me is that the support person is still going to have access to like a video call. So they're gonna have like a monitor, and like the person can watch you give birth or go through labor. And just like, it's definitely a not safe for work kind of video. If you like watching like, oh yeah, this is my wife, she's giving birth to my son, you want to watch? No, they're just most likely it'll be like certain times of the day or certain amounts of like the labor process that they'll have people on video call. I have no idea how we're actually going to do this, if they do this. I'm fingers crossed that we don't have any form of state of emergency. There's no quasi state of emergency that my interpreter will actually be able to come. Oh man, this has been a source of stress in my pregnancy. I've pretty much gotten rid of all the other factors that would have gotten me in this point of like, a risk to me and my baby. But this factor of just being pregnant during coronavirus has just been so difficult. So difficult. Like I said, like we were trying so hard, and like, we didn't choose the timing. Like, yeah, we're just like, we're going to try as much as we can, anytime we can. And just see if we get something. And when we got, pregnant, it was like, all right, this is it. Like, we're glad, this is the blessing. It's just really difficult. And I hope that if you're considering getting pregnant in Japan, or anywhere, honestly, you can't really time it. You've got 9 months of anything can happen, especially with, a virus like this. This is your choice if you decide that you want to get pregnant now. Just being aware of just like, it's just difficult. just being by yourself or not having family support. If you don't understand Japanese, not being able to like be in a place where you can just talk to like the doctor and the nurses properly, it's just so much more difficult than it should be. Well, that was a little tangent. I wanted to go ahead and talk about my 2 appointments. So appointment number 1, of course, the doctor gave me the heartburn medicine, the headache medicine. We learned about the classes being with the midwife, and it was so cute. The first time, she was monitoring for the baby's heart with some sort of test. I don't know what it really is. It's like a 3D, and she's watching the blood circulation of the baby's heart. We'd like watch it for like 3 to 5 minutes. And then she like, all right, are you ready for like the 4D, the 4D ultrasound? I can probably opt out of this, but it's basically like included for my clinic. So, you know, it's like whatever. And for the first appointment for the month, we actually were able to see a face clearly, and he looks just like my husband. I'm growing a tiny clone of my husband right now, who has my nose and apparently my legs, because they're all freaking out. They're like, oh my gosh, the baby has such like long legs. I was like, look at me, please. It's interesting. I of course have a video where I'm talking about the baby, and so you can see the baby's face. He's a shy one. He doesn't always like to be seen. He plays with his hands and his feet all the time. I can feel that. He tends to be a really ganky kid. Like, he just constantly like moving around and like engaging with his like limited surroundings. So I'm excited to see him, really. For the second appointment, we went and we were discussing the birth plan. Dun, 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 dun. So, I asked the doctor for the first appointment of the month, hey, do you guys have a template for me, or do I have to make my own and get it translated? They're like, we'll have this set up or scheduled for you for your next appointment. So they had me go in with the midwife, and we just basically went through what I already written down, which is like a list of things that I found online from other people who have their own templates, and then what the clinic has already, which is like a like an instruction pamphlet we got, and basically it's due on my week 37. That's whenever the baby's technically full term, so the baby can come at any time and still not be considered preterm. So they anticipate that like within that time from 37 to 41, hopefully you'll be induced in 40, 41, that like you're most likely will be delivering the baby. So that's whenever the documents are due, including my agreements for things like allowing the nurses to do a blood sample on the foot of the baby, hearing test, stuff like that. Basically, for my template and what I showed, of course, my interpreter beforehand, and then talked with my midwife, was just like me, Alex. He is registered as my support person, and then my interpreter's name as my interpreter. Of course, the due date, or expected due date, and then doctor I'm currently working with. I went ahead and wrote down that anticipated delivery up to now, of course, unless we have difficulties later, is my planned delivery is vaginal delivery, and I've time stamped it as of this time. If I need to change it, of course, I would change. Okay, if we need to do a C-section or C-section. C-sections are kind of scary, and I'm going to go ahead and include that too about my preferences are and what I actually had to talk to with the midwife. So, things that I wanted during labor. I did not want any photos or images during labor. I did not want any of my husband or my interpreter friend or anyone who might actually be an interpreter who is not a nurse, midwife, or doctor to be anywhere near my delivery area. It's like, you can be over here with me, chilling, not seeing any, like, disturbing nightmare fuel birth going on. Please don't. I don't want to see it. I don't want you to see it. No one needs that. And the funny part is that the midwife was like, oh, we normally like film the whole thing and then we just like present it to you as like a gift, and like, no, I don't want you can have it. She goes, okay, so no birth film. Cool. Things that I asked for during labor also included if I am allowed, and if I happen to have the urge, I would like to be able to drink water and eat during labor, because I don't know how long it's going to take for labor. Labor can be very short or very long. So if I'm, 15 hours in and I'm thirsty, I want to be able to drink. I also want to be able to, as she said, freestyle birth. Being able to move around, changing different positions during labor, like specifically waiting for the dilation to happen, and for the baby to drop. Not like drop, like, because the baby's going to drop in position, but like, the baby dropping out, if that makes sense, like getting ready for actually coming out. So, I've been looking at videos again, because I haven't had my actual consultation with my midwife about things like birth ball, and like different positions you can do, just shifting yourself and like helping to mediate some of the pain and just trying to just cope. So I wanted to be able to, like, if I, really wanted to, if I wanted to, like, deliver the baby squatting, I want to be able to do that. If I want to, on all fours, I want to be able to do that. Any position that I might currently be in that might be the most soothing at the time, I would rather be able to do it. But apparently, according to the midwife, my clinic will require during the actual delivery of the child that I lay on my back. She said you can have the freestyle labor for all the other parts during labor, but whenever you're delivering the child, we're going to need you to be laying on this bed. I said, is this bed going to be flat? Is it going to be like inclined? Because I really don't want to be lying on my back, putting that pressure on my spine, on my legs, and causing complications with the baby as we're trying to like birth him out. So she said yes, it is like a motorized table of some sort, but like when it comes to like squatting, or like I think in America they have like a squatting bar you can use. Apparently they don't have that, so I'll just have to work and make do with what I have. Because they expect that it's not going to be for too long, I think it won't be as bad and as like damaging. So I think it'll be fine. Most of my stuff for like medical intervention was very simple. Like I allow this and I won't allow this kind of thing. Like using vacuums or getting fetal monitoring, that kind of thing. I requested not to have an epidural. Because the ones here in Japan are not as strong, number one. Number two, if I were to have one, I just think that it's just more risk than it is for benefit, so I'd rather just not. The other thing that was surprising to me with the midwife as we were talking was about the C-section. I was like, yeah, I don't mind, breastfeeding as soon as possible, but I'd rather, like, be asleep during the C-section if I have to have one. And she said, no, you're gonna be awake. I was like, I'm gonna be what? She's like, yeah, we don't do any anesthesia. You're gonna be awake. I was like, is there at least a curtain? Like, I don't want to just see my like guts like on the table, as they pull the baby. Now, like hearing the baby cry and like telling the baby, the doctor saying we did it, like that's good enough. I don't want to see anything. Just literally nightmare fuel. And like the amount of like crazy dreams I'm having now, I'm like, I don't want to have any more that would add to trauma or depression or anxiety like after the baby's here. Like I don't need any of that. So she said yes, we can use a curtain, but you will be awake. Of course there'll be local anesthesia for like the area when they do the incision if needed, of course. But we're currently not planning for a C-section. Alright, the last thing about my birth plan was circumcision. So we talked to the doctor. He said that they don't perform that procedure at the birth clinic, that I have to go see a urologist, someone who studies urine, or the body functions, body parts that use urine. And there's a urology department in the local hospital, but I'm unsure as to how full the hospital will be by the time that the baby comes out. So we'll have to really see. I would like to go to the hospital because I looked at their layout. The urology department is actually in the birthing center area, and our city has a lot of foreigners, and I know that it's not just Christians that want circumcision, also a lot of Muslim people who practice Islam, that they might want circumcision. So I think that it's an actual department that will do the procedure, and that I have to do it after 1 week, but before 3 months. So I have a window before he has to the baby has to basically be put to sleep for the procedure. Alright. Lastly, I went ahead and oops, I almost forgot. So one of the other things that I was instructed to do by the midwife at our constellation was counting of movements. So this chart looks very strange, because it is. And I was actually asking the doctor before I even was told about how to do it properly. I was like, how am I going to actually do this? He goes, you're going to go talk to the midwife. Get out of my office. No, he's not rude. He's not rude at all. Actually, even whenever he told me that I was getting fat, I wasn't being too... Just backtrack a little bit before we get to this counting of movement. On my first appointment, the doctor was like, hey, so I see your weight has kind of spiked above your projected gain weight chart. You need to be careful, because it would actually cause a lot of problems. I know that I, made fun of the midwife was talking about if you get too fat, but honestly, if the baby's too big to come out, or I gain too much weight, it can really cause some really devastating problems like stillbirth and having to get a forced C-section, stuff like that. So I was like, all right, I'm eating the same amount, but we're gonna cook at home. So we started cooking at home. And I told my friend, I was like, the doctor called me fat. He didn't call me fat, but he called me fat. I got back on track. And I'm still trying to make sure that I'm still gaining weight as well as not gaining too much weight. And this is the first time I've ever having to do this. It's kind of crazy. Alright, so moving the baby's movements. This little baby, he's been moving since the end of the first trimester. Flipping and flopping around. I remember my mom was asking, she's like, yeah, it's gonna feel like butterflies. It's like, no, it feels like a flopping fish. It's oh man. Currently, his head is down and his bottom is doing a banana. So he's got his back and rump, and then his legs are doing like this. So he'll knee or kick me on one side, and then he'll do the big movements on the other side. And how you're supposed to count the movements of the baby is you pick a time, any time of the day. Let's say, they said just as long as it's not right before you're going to bed. So as soon as you wake up, if you want, you can do this. I tend to pick times of the day where he's already moving. And just, alright, that's a movement right there. I go look at my clock, right? I note the clock, the time of the clock. Let's say it's 2:59. So I will count up until I get to 10 movements. And whenever I get to the 10th movement, I'll look at the clock again and note how much time has passed. The midwife told me that often it's like 15 to 25 minutes is the movement. But maybe it's like 10 to 20 or 10 to 15 to 20. He moves a lot, and that's regular. That's regular for him. So if he was like not as active and then all of a sudden became more active, that'd be a problem. If he goes from being super active to being a lot less active, then that's also a sign for concern. So this is why we measure. And yeah, that's as simple as that. You just mark the time of the day, or you just mark. Oh look, today it was 15 minutes. You put 15 minutes. That's how long it took for him to do 10 movements. So actually last is me registering for support service. So support service in my city is offered, and specifically my city offers nursery, housework assistance, counselor or advice counseling, and like if you need to go pick someone up and drop someone off, or see someone off, or like wait for someone to come to your house kind of thing. This is what it's translated as. I'm actually unsure as to how effective this will be, but as someone who's going to be here most likely by myself for a whole month with a newborn, my first newborn, I want to have someone. I'll be in the hospital for at least 5 days. That's their requirement. So basically for the first week, from starting labor till leaving with the baby, it's a whole week. And then this service goes for 3 weeks. So I would notify them basically as I'm going to the hospital. They would find someone for me who's adequate for my needs. We just set up a schedule. Most likely I'll do is schedule times whenever he's not here for someone to just check up on me while I'm healing up, helping me if I'm like exhausted, like I need to take a nap, or can you just chop up some vegetables for me? Can you watch the baby for like 10 minutes while I take a shower? Like, I don't know. I don't know exactly, but I assume it'll be something like that. Of course, I want my mom to be here, but if she's not, this is the system that this is the plan for now. Along with that, most likely we'll register for a food support service. The one in town is Co-op Deli, but I'm not sure if it's different for every other city or prefecture. And I've seen them out around going to like convenience stores and specific individuals' houses, so they would basically come and drop off food for me, so I wouldn't have to like take as much time to cook, or even for Alex to have to cook whenever he comes to help me support. That's our plan for now. Again, I don't know how effective it's going to be, or if that's the plan, if we're going to change it later, but that's it for now. I really do hope that like all these good information videos like this one are actually the ones seen by a lot of people instead of just people seeing me complain about the system being a little sexist and a little racist about me having a male interpreter. So like I said, if there's any information that you need or questions you have, please write it in the comments. I am like a social person. You can talk to me. We can work it out together. I can be your support person. Not like support like going to your house, but I mean like we can support each other. And like share stories. Like that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing my story with you. If you want to share yours, leave it in a comment. Anything at all. Please consider subscribing to my channel. Got 3 more months to go. Yeah, that's it. Probably next video we'll be talking about what we're actually going to buy. We haven't bought anything at all except for a car seat. Yeah. So most likely next video we'll be discussing where we're going to buy our stuff and what we're going to buy or what we're considering buying and things like that. Alright, well, I'll see you lovelies later. Bye!